Welcome into the latest edition of the Unpaid Interns. Austin Render here with you, joined by Tamar Scher. Tamar, welcome back into the show. Glad to have you back. I'm glad to see the guests you've brought on or will be bringing on today.
I'm so excited, and it's great to finally see you again. It's been a whole week. I can't believe it. It's been a fun week. We got to see some IU former Hoosiers on the screen with the MLS's back tournament. It was really cool to see guys like Aiden Morris out there. So we're getting to sports. What's going on with you? You're on vacation.
I am on vacation. It's been very hot and humid here, but it is sunny, and you can't complain about sunny.
Nope.
Yeah, and as you said, sports are back on the TV. And Tom Allen is back on Zoom. He had a Zoom presser, the Indiana football coach press conference Monday, I believe. I think it was Monday. And he talked about how he's optimistic that the season will happen. And he kind of talked about how he's planning on it. He's optimistic it will go. He thinks it'll be fine. Tamar, I want to know, is that, this may not sound right, is that genuine? Is that something that he truly believes, or you think that's something that all the college coaches are saying right now, but deep down they have their concerns?
You know, I said this with Connor and Griffin last week. I don't know. I think that that's something that is being said by college coaches to give a sense of comfort, which is wonderful, but no one really knows until students are back, because again, these are college sports. It's not you can't have a bubble. The players are going to be exposed if they have in-person classes, which Indiana in particular is doing a hybrid of in-person and online. You can't guarantee that they're not going to be exposed. They're not going to go out, is what Griffin was saying. So it's really difficult to say. I think the optimism is good because it means that they want some normalcy. They want to get back, which is great. But I personally don't think you can even say until you're a week in and see. So someone like the Ivy Leagues, they took it upon themselves to say, okay, no sports. In a way, I think smart, because they're being proactive and they don't even want the exposure at all. But I don't know. The optimism is great, but I don't really know if that's going to stick with students.
Yeah, it seems like something he has to say. It seems like something that it'd be weird if he wasn't saying it, I guess, especially for a team that has had a very little amount of positive cases. So not surprised that he's coming out and saying that, but we'll see. I think there's certainly more optimism coming from him than from anywhere else if you're talking about college football right now. I was just playing golf yesterday with some people, and we were on the golf course, and we saw some kids playing football in their pool, and the guy in our group said, well, that might be the most football we see in 2020. It's certainly, there's a lack of optimism around the country right now when it comes to football. A couple of announcements out of the city of Philadelphia, the Phillies and the Eagles. Now, the Phillies season starting in just a little bit over a week. The Eagles, obviously, a little bit further down the road. But both the Eagles and the Phillies have announced that due to city orders, there will be no fans at any of their home games. And the NFL is in a different, I think the MLB is going to be the same all around. I don't see how in a week and a half you can say we're going to have fans in the stands. But the NFL, this is a big move for the Eagles early. Do you think that other teams will follow suit?
That's a good question. And I think it really depends on the city in which you're in. So I think that in particular, what the protocols are going to be, it's dependent on what that stance is going to be for the city, which is kind of how our country's been running lately. So not quite sure if people are going to follow suit. I think it is most likely, if you look at the basketball tournament that just happened, they were able to keep the virus contained and out of their bubble because they were able to have that bubble protocol in place. So I'm not quite sure. I think that something like that was smart. They did it off the bat, but I think we're going to start to see, as again, we start to see more sports coming out with what their protocols are going to be. If their safety protocols work, we might start to see a shift of those canceling and not having any fans, and once having fans and not anymore. So I think it's really looking at what the success of those teams are that are doing the bubble format and not allowing fans, and what that's going to look like to really determine if they're going to change what their protocols are.
It'll be interesting if certain teams in the NFL decide to go with fans and then other teams don't. I think a lot of it is based on where you're located. I mean, Philadelphia has kind of been a bit of a hot spot, and they're taking the precautions necessary. As you mentioned, the TBT, shout out to former Hoosier players Maurice Creek and Remy Abel. They did not win, but they came up just short in the championship, losing to the Marquette Golden Eagles alumni team. So Tom Crean wins either way. Tom Crean's the big winner there. Tamar, you want to introduce the man here on the bottom of our screen? He is your guest, so I'll let you bring him in.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome in Tim Jorden, former IU football player, and played some time, and he had some time in the NFL. So welcome, Tim. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great, thank you. And most importantly, I'm friends with your dad, from my IU days. That's the biggest accomplishment I had. He and I lived right across the hall from each other our freshman year. So it's great to have those memories.
That's becoming a theme of the guests that Tamar brings on. They're all friends with her dad. Her dad must have been a very outgoing guy at IU, making all these friends.
Yeah, well, it was really cool when I found out that Tamar, I think it was your freshman year, you worked on the Big Ten network for the soccer games, and I got in touch with her dad, and I said, "What a small world!" And it's pretty amazing that all these ties are coming back in the next generation.
Absolutely. And now in a couple minutes also, we're going to have your daughter on, Allison Jordan, who plays now for the Indiana women's soccer team. So it totally comes full circle. The women's soccer team was my first beat. So I got to do women's soccer for IU student television. I think Allison was one of my first interviews, which is just crazy how we're able to come absolutely full circle. And not only did you know my dad, but you were also roommates with Pete Stoyanovich, NFL kicker. So what was that like?
It was interesting because Pete was he was kind of a star from the minute he stepped foot on IU's campus. So I got to deal with a little bit of that, dealing with crazy fans and crazy students. Because of the fact that Pete was so popular, I got to kind of ease into it so that when I started hitting my stride, I knew how to handle it a little bit because I had seen Pete have to deal with it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Pete was a great guy to room with. He and I stay in touch now. What a lot of people don't know is I was actually his holder for field goal kicking as well. And so we've got quite a tie there.
Beautiful. So not only roommates, but you just have that connection for a lifetime. That is so wonderful part of the team. And now we get to welcome your daughter, Allison. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. I love that background that you have. Those are some pretty cool displays. I love it.
Memorabilia. Thank you. Thank you. What's going on? Where are you located right now?
I'm in Bloomington, good old B-Town. So we just got back as a team a week or so ago. I'm sure you've seen that athletics is allowing teams to come back and train in a very limited fashion, but it's training nonetheless. So that's great. And it's just so good to see people my age. Not that I didn't love hanging out with my parents all day long for a few months there, but it's good. And it's good to be in Bloomington. Everyone's doing well here and staying safe and everything. So it's good to be back.
Allison, what's the process like returning to campus as an athlete? Kind of what are some of the protocols you're having to abide by, and does it feel like everything's kind of going well and you feel safe?
Yes, so definitely more is more when it comes to all these protocols, but I think everyone around the country would agree that that's a good thing. So it starts with everybody gets tested after you get to campus, and you quarantine for 48 hours, both before your test and as you're waiting for the results, which come back in a couple of days. And then once you've gotten that negative and the go ahead, then you have to like complete your physical and everything, and then you can start training the following week. So with our actual training, it's all super limited, both physically and like time demand wise. So they're really trying to ease all of us back into the routine of D1 college athletics, which you just can't simulate unless you're actually doing it. So they're doing a really good job, both from like the sports science side of things and the just general like health and safety side of things. So all of us are so super spread out. We have different areas around the athletics campus that a lot of us, that the different teams will use for weightlifting and everything. So for example, my team isn't in the main weight room that they have. They've kind of created one in the track and field, the indoor track and field, which is the Gladstein Field House. And all of us are 6 feet apart from each other, and you have to wipe down every weight before and after use. So all of it is like as clean as it's ever been. But yeah, and then we have to wear masks everywhere as well. But they're doing a fantastic job taking care of us. They're feeding us everything, and it's a very safe environment. So we don't mind the extra protocols and everything. Sorry, long answer to your question, but
No, that's good. I've just been curious how everything's going, because it feel what were we about a month into athletes being back on campus, and I was just curious how everything's going. That's good to hear that it's been pretty safe. Well, now that we have both of you on here, I guess we'll start with Tim, because you were a Hoosier first. What is it like to have your daughter kind of following in your footsteps, not only going to IU but playing on an IU athletics team as well?
Well, I can say it's a lot easier when you're not the one out there sweating and slide tackling people or tackling people. So I've really enjoyed that. With that said, it still is kind of nerve-wracking, because I don't know why, but I go through the same emotions that I did when I played, in some respect, when I get to the soccer field and Allison's got a game to play. But it's just really cool to see it happen, to see somebody do it a little bit better than what I did it, and, how proud it makes me.
And Allison, to your end, what convinced you to join the Hoosiers? Was it any push from your dad, or was it somewhere you always wanted to be? What's that like?
Yeah, so my parents are fervent IU fans, just like yours are. Our first dog's name was Hoosier, everything. So when we were really little, I remember, like, honestly, one of my earliest memories is the sound coming from our living room when AJ Moye like blocked the dunk. I remember my sister and I were in the playroom, and then all of a sudden, like, and they're like, both my mom and dad run around the house, and you have to come see this. So when we were younger, it was like really, really passionate, like, IU, you're going there, but it was more of a joke. And my sister and I, just being like daughters and being little brats, like swore that we would never go to IU, never, no interest. And then when I actually started the recruiting process, we made a trip to Bloomington, and you just look around and it just felt like home. So for a long time, I swore I would never go to IU. And then I actually came to IU, and there was not really any place I'd rather be after that. During the recruiting process, both my parents were super hands-off, really objective. And then when I decided on my own that I wanted to come to IU, it was like, thank goodness, like sigh of relief. But yeah, we went on trips to, like places that we won't name, but other fellow blue bloods and Big Ten rivals and everything. So they were pretty fair during the time.
And Austin, I don't know if you know this, but the Jordans have a place in Bloomington, so they can constantly be back there.
Well,
and it's just so
I'm in the
wonderful.
same boat. Born and raised a Hoosier fan, so both parents went there. So I'm right there with everybody. That's right in my blood as well. I got a taste of nothing close to like being an athlete, but I traveled with the baseball team this past spring and kind of got to see a glimpse into like what it's like to hop on a plane every Thursday, get back late Monday morning and have to go to class and all this stuff. What are some of the challenges of being a student athlete and having to not only perform on the field, but then have to turn around and immediately go to class and take care of homework and all that stuff?
Yeah, so most of them are pretty obvious. Like you mentioned, you get back at 2 in the morning on Monday and you have a finite makeup exam at 6:30, something like that. But with all of the challenges and high expectations that you face in the athletics world, it creates this standard of excellence in all areas of life. And just looking around at my fellow athletes, I really had no choice but to be incredibly driven and motivated and work really hard in school and class and everything. Work hard on and off the field, just because that's the norm. That's what like all student athletes do. So you have some of the best influences around you who already have mastered time management and all the little things that are going to help you face all the challenges and overcome them. So it's although there are a lot of challenges, just the atmosphere sets you up to succeed. So that's pretty cool.
And Tim, how have things changed? Not just in that aspect, but just being a college athlete in general, since you were there at IU and now that your daughter's there. What are some of the things that you've noticed that have changed of being a student athlete?
It's really very similar, probably from what I experienced, because, football players back in my day had the training tables and the study halls and things like that. I will say that they probably do a better job now giving them tools, keeping the nutrition higher than what it was. But it's a lot alike to what I experienced at IU.
Transitioning a bit, because wonderful, you both Hoosiers, and also Tim, you got some time to play on a national standpoint, the NFL. You got to play on multiple teams, many incredible franchises. Do you have any memories or stories that you'd like to share with us from your time in the league?
You always remember your first touchdown. I remember my first touchdown at IU vividly. I remember my first touchdown in the NFL vividly. Everything else is a blur. But what you do remember looking back is, or at least I do, how prepared I was when I got to the NFL, for a number of different reasons. One, I had played under Coach Mallory, and he set an incredibly high standard for everybody. It was tough. It was disciplined. I had a coach named George Ballou who was the same way. So between the two of them, they prepared me completely for the NFL. I've always said that it was easier when I got to the NFL because in college I had to go up against a guy named Joe Huff and a guy named Van Waiters, who both were NFL guys themselves. And they were tougher and played harder than most of the guys I faced every single day. So I guess for me, looking back, that's one of the memories that ties IU with the NFL is how well I was prepared.
1989, Anthony Thompson had one of the best seasons of anyone in IU history. How, put into words for someone like me who was not even close to being born at that time, like how good was Anthony Thompson?
Anthony's, I think everybody would say he's probably the best football player to ever play at IU. I have a vivid memory. This will kind of help explain how good he was. He was a freshman when I was a sophomore, and he didn't start the first 3 games of the season, but then we went to Michigan State and he started, and I was blocking a guy and Anthony ran the ball, and the sound that I heard when he hit the middle linebacker was a sound I had never heard before. And this was a middle linebacker named Percy Snow, who was All-American. And I just remember out of the corner of my eye watching Percy Snow's knees buckle, and Anthony just kept going. And it was one of those moments where I was like, man, we're going to be really good. Up till then, I didn't really know if we were ever going to be really good. But when I saw that and heard that, I'm like, we just took it to a new level.
Was he robbed in '89 of the Heisman Trophy?
You know, I couldn't tell you if he was or not. I can't remember his stats, but I have a hard time believing anybody on any team meant more to the team than what he did. But,
Yeah.
you know, we had another guy that maybe got robbed, Ernie Jones, my junior year. It was the same year a guy from Notre Dame won the Heisman. And if you look at the stats, Ernie probably should have won the Heisman. Pretty talented guys I got to play with. And ironically, I played with both of them in Arizona with the Cardinals.
That, yeah. And you also played under Bill Cowher at Pittsburgh. What kind of coach is he? A Hall of Famer, obviously, but I mean, what's it like to get to play under a guy like him?
Well, he was unique. I've never had anybody like him before. He was a guy that a lot of people think the players feared because he looked so ferocious, but we didn't. He was a player's coach, but kind of like Coach Mallory, you knew that if you crossed him, he had the ability to be a pretty mean, tough guy. So nobody ever crossed him.
That's awesome. So you played in the early 90s. You played in the league. With guys now like Mahomes and Jackson dominating the league, how has it changed in the past few decades from where it was when you were in the league and to where it is now?
Yeah, when I played, it was more of like a rock'em sock'em, you know, run the ball up the middle, possession type game. Nowadays, there's a lot of finesse. The players are way more athletic than what they were back in my day. Back in my day, it was a lot about size and strength. Now it's all about speed and lateral movement. So I think it's more fun to watch today than what it was back then.
And with everything that's going on in light of the pandemic that we're facing right now, do you have any opinions on, if you were in the league right now, how you'd be feeling with how they're taking the protocols and also just jumping into what they're going to be doing for a season and training right now?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really thought about it, but if I were them, I'd be doing whatever it takes to play football this year. I mean, for one, I'm not sure they're going to get paid if they don't play football. You know, that's their job. That's what they're paid to do. They need to do whatever it takes to try to get back out on the field. And I think most of the guys will do that. You know, they're pros.
Allison, you mentioned how you had some people that you kind of had help you figure out how to become a better student athlete, how to kind of balance your time. Now that you've kind of grown into that leadership role, what is kind of changed in the past couple of years now that you are the person that people are looking to for that advice?
Yeah, so I always felt that I was a pretty strong leader. I think just naturally, I really enjoy organizing and taking the lead. But I thought that being a natural leader meant that you never had to work on it and that there was nothing more to learn. But I have been very wrong about that. And the people above me have shown me all different types of leadership roles. And so I've taken a little bit from everyone who's come in front of me. So I had a teammate, Kayla Smith, who would just work until she dropped. And so I learned the art of leading by example from her. And I had another teammate, Abby Allen, who wasn't so quiet, but picked up on little things that people would do each day to see, you know, if like they were acting differently. She would individually reach out. So I've learned a lot from a lot of different people, and it's made me a much more well-rounded leader. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned and what I'm trying to really emphasize now is that leadership has absolutely nothing to do with power or status, but it's all about empowering people and bringing the best out of everyone else. So I'm trying to just offer that service to anyone in any way that I can. Obviously, I've been here for 4 years now, so I think I have a good handle on a lot of struggles that people, especially female athletes, face. So I've tried to just be really open about all the things that I've gone through. And if that resonates with someone, they know that I'm always here to talk and just like help them in any way that I can. And a lot of people have taken me up on that, and it really helps kind of tie together a tough process that I've been through various ups and downs by being able to pass on what I've learned to others. So that's kind of the leader that I'm trying to be, is just someone who can help in any way that they can.
Well, you mentioned you've been there for 4 years now. We like to talk to everybody we have on that's an IU person. I mean, what are your go-to spots for food? Maybe right now you're throwing a mask on. Where are you going to grab some food?
Okay, so Bloomington just has like quite the array of different options, and you would never think in the middle of Indiana that there'd be all these places. But so there's one place that I recently discovered in the past year, and it's called Siam House, and it's a Thai food place. And I don't know why for so many years I repeatedly went to Noodles when like this 4th Street is popping with like a million different options, all so much better than like the regular noodles and Chipotle that I used to get every day. So Siam House is Thai food and it's so good. And then my all-time favorite in Bloomington is Feta, which is like Mediterranean Chipotle, and it's a healthy option, and it's just so good.
I don't have
Those are
glasses.
my favorites.
Start video.
Here we go.
We have our next guest popping in here.
Yay!
Tim, I want to ask you the same question though. When you're in town with Allison, where do you go?
Well, we go wherever Allison wants to go when we're with Allison, but you know, if we have friends in town, it's got to be Yanko's, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yanko's.
That is the all-time favorite for my family too, Yanko's Little Zagreb's. And I mean, you mentioned it before, but I want to get back to Allison really quick. So Tim, you mentioned it before, your pride in your daughter. You, Allison, are not only recognized as a leader by your family, by your team, but also by Indiana as a university, because you also started a wonderful club, Everybody Plays. I want to get a little bit of your insight into what went into your drive to create that club, and also just being a full, well-rounded scholar athlete leader in general. But how did you succeed something like this? It's so incredible. Give a little rundown of what it is, and then also just how did you get it started?
First of all, thank you for all those kind words. I don't know if I deserve all of it. Likewise, just before we like have to get off, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Tamar. She relentlessly covered all IU sports during her time here. And then I remember thinking after you had come to like 5 practices in the past few weeks and everything, I ran into you at the union, and you said that you were there for a student government meeting, and this girl does everything. So likewise, just wanted to pay some respects back to you. But as far as
too kind.
As far as Everybody Plays goes, I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of ups and downs that I've gone through, just like any college student has. And one of them was getting injured my sophomore year. It wasn't anything major, but I had an ankle sprain that kept me out for the season. And that was before I was really involved in much else aside from being a student and being an athlete. So when the athlete part got taken away, my whole identity just kind of collapsed. Like I didn't know what else I was supposed to be doing or who I really was. And that's something that a lot of athletes go through. But during that time, I was pretty down, and that just inspired me to do something greater than being a student athlete. And that's kind of when Everybody Plays was born. a lot of times that I haven't felt myself, people with disabilities have kind of grounded me and brought me back to realizing what actually matters in life. So I felt the need to kind of repay that group, and selfishly, I needed something to kind of help myself. And so helping others usually does the trick. So in conjunction with our Excellence Academy, which is the IU Athletics Leadership and Life Skills group, we came up with this Everybody Plays idea. And I did a lot with Special Olympics and unified sports, and just like disabilities and athletics go hand in hand. It is a great way for people with disabilities to learn all the things that athletes and fans of sports learn, like leadership, teamwork, healthy lifestyle, all of that. So I wanted to give some opportunities to people who have really helped me a lot in my life. So that's what Everybody Plays is and how it came about. And it's been a very fun process. And I just kind of handed off responsibility to the next leader of Everybody Plays. So that's pretty cool that it will be here after I'm gone.
Wow,
That
you are
that is super
incredible.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll back you up on Tamar. You give her something to do, and she's gonna go full force. And yeah, let's
Oh my
all
gosh.
praise Tamar here while we have the
Stop. I appreciate you guys. You guys too, all of you. This has been so wonderful. I told you guys, the Jordans, I am just so grateful. I've been wanting to do something like this since I was a freshman, now going to be a senior. So I just cannot thank you enough for the time that you spent with us and talking memories, I said, get excited to just talk IU, and that's what we did. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Allison and Tamar. Thanks for sharing the stories and doing this for IU fans. It's fun to be a part of.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
That was Allison and Tim Jorden, former Indiana football player Tim Jorden, and current IU women's soccer player Allison Jordan. Tamar, you continue to kill it with the guests, and you've got another one here to bring in.
Yes, we are bringing in Dave Silvestri. I let him know that we are ready for him. Hello. And so Dave Silvestri, he is a former MLB infielder and Olympic gold medalist. He is fantastic, and St. Louis. So we have to bring in the wonderful Dave Silvestri. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tamar. Thanks. Happy to be with you. Hope it all works out. This is my first Zoom cast, so bear with me.
It's perfect. And meet my lovely co-host, Austin Render.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
He's the brains behind the podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. I'm glad that we were able to get another St. Louisan. Tamar continues to provide from the great city of St. Louis here.
Well, yes, fortunate enough to be lifelong friends with her family, and so it's great to have the opportunity to share some time here.
Thanks, Dave. So getting right into it, you are known as one of the greatest shortstops to play at Mizzou, or one of the greatest baseball players to ever step foot on the field at Mizzou. And then you got your chance to head to the MLB, where you most notably played for the Yankees and the Expos, among other major franchises. What was it like playing professionally, playing in that spotlight?
Well, it was, needless to say, a dream come true. It's playing baseball is always, as far as I can remember, what I wanted to do. And I was fortunate enough to first off to be healthy, to maintain health through a long period of time is part of the fight in the battle. But I did get an opportunity to do that, and for me, it all started really with University of Missouri and the time spent there that kind of took me from a raw, really good athlete to a really good baseball player, and then it offered me the opportunity to continue that for 13 years, which I did, and so it was definitely a dream come true.
Your first National League hit was a run-scoring pinch hit against your hometown St. Louis Cardinals at Busch Stadium. I mean, that had to have been a special moment. Kind of walk us through that day and that hit that you got there at Busch Stadium.
You know, sometimes when it was great, by the way, and it was one of I got a few hits against Cardinals through the next couple of years, but that particular game, I just, if I recall, just signed with the team. I just got traded, so I was, kind of, you're the new guy, and you're thrown out there. I think it was a pinch hit opportunity, if I remember correctly, and left-handed pitcher. I can't remember quite who it was exactly. And, sometimes it's a fine line between a hit and an out in baseball. And it just kind of caught the hole. And it was a kind of a big hit at the time. And it was special for me, obviously the first off play against your hometown team. And back when I played, they didn't have interleague play at that time. It was really National League, American League. And so, most of my, first 5 years of playing in the big leagues, it was all against American League clubs. So it was my first opportunity it was my first National League game, like you said. And it was very special to always get a hit, first and foremost, and help your new team win a game. That was what really was special. So.
Gosh, but against the Cardinals, it had to be that.
When you're a player, your allegiance and your favorite team is the one with the uniform you got on. So it was not difficult for me to root against the Cardinals because they were, that was our competition. So, but it was special. It really was. And every time we played there, it was great because I knew I had the support and the family and a lot of the friends watching. And it was always very special to play against the Cardinals.
That's fair. I'll take that answer. And so not only did you get to play professionally, but you played on one of the biggest stages, if not the biggest stage in the world. You were able to play for the U.S. Olympic team in 1988 and the Summer Olympics. So what was that experience like? Any standout memories from that team?
Well, it was really special, actually. And at the time, we were all 20-year-old kids. And 1988 was the Seoul Olympics was really the last amateur Olympics. The 92 is when it started to be, more of a professional atmosphere. So that particular Olympics was strictly amateur. And so all the guys on the American, not just in baseball, but all throughout the delegation were young kids, and not pro athletes. They were all amateur people at the time. And it was special on that regard. And, we had such a special, good, close, good team. We all played on the Pan American Games. Almost all of us played on the Pan American Games the prior summer. So we kind of had some experience playing together. And it was just one of those, it was just one of those situations that I was lucky to be at the right place at the right time and to even get the opportunity to play on the team. And then throughout the summer, won the job as the shortstop. And it was contentious. There was a lot of good players that had really even better careers in the big leagues that I kind of beat out at the time to play short. And my memory of it is there's many of them. My first thing is always to the players that I shared the time with and the closeness that it's a lifelong bond that we still have. And, so that's the first thing. And then obviously, we won the gold medal, which was extremely, tournament baseball is a little different than than playing professionally with such a long year. And, basically it was just kind of, you had to win games. And it was a lot of fun to play that style of baseball, where every game mattered. And so, we had just excellent talent. We had, out of the 20 guys, that 17 or 18 were big league players, and and had many of them had really long careers as well. But being around that, and I think I actually feel like it was being at the last amateur Olympics means something really special to me as well, because it's kind of how I remember the Olympics, watching it as a kid. Amateur, it was sort of like, the communists were still around at the time, and it was, Russia, and there was something to it still, and I think, moving forward in the next 92 and moving on, that element wasn't there as much, but it was special to me. It was exciting, and you felt the immense proudness to wear the USA uniform and the flag, and it was very patriotic to represent your country there. It really was special, and I was just fortunate to have this opportunity fall into my lap.
Did you get any extra butterflies at an event like that compared to an MLB event? Where'd you get it the most? Maybe opening ceremony, maybe your first game. Did you feel any butterflies while you were there?
There was definite pressure, probably more so, and I would say playing in that sort of endeavor in front of big crowds was really my first foray into playing in front of 40,000 people, and the pressure of the game. Any mistakes magnified. It was win or lose. And so I think it really helped me later on in life handle some of the pressure of a regular baseball game, playing into, like the guys that play, in a World Series now, they become better players because of that experience. And I think it really helped me handle pressure and, playing in front of big crowds for that. So it wasn't really, my first day in Yankee Stadium was not like, wow, look at all these people. I've never played in front of 5,000 before. It was in that regard, it kind of helped me there, and the pressure of having to succeed, and when you're playing on a team, it's different than so it's not all on your shoulders, obviously, but you're responsible for making your plays and doing your part, and so there is that, but that's what we did. We were players, so if you're handling the nerves and handling the excitement and all that part is part of the game, and so I kind of learned that and had that opportunity thrown at me at a young age. So
now can you speak to what it's probably like now? The Olympics this summer were canceled due to the pandemic. Can you speak to what the athletes must be feeling, because you train for that kind of thing your whole life, and now to have it ripped away from you? Can you speak to both what the athletes must be feeling and the organization?
Yeah, I clearly, I'm a huge Olympic fan, so I follow it really closely. So I was kind of in tune to what was going on, but I think they made the right decision, because I believe the Olympics is equally for the athlete and the fan. And not only that, it's such a the city, the host city, they spend a lot of money, and it would be decimating to them to not be able to play in front of the fans. So I believe by moving it back a year, maybe this, the pandemic will be gone, hopefully, and we can kind of resume the normal sports, and we'll all as fans get to watch it, and people can go to the game and go to the events, because it's not just it's a true event, and it's very special, and because I remember going to other events too, and I was there when I remember when Carl Lewis lost to Ben Johnson. I was at that race, so there was a lot of cool things, and I remember being around some of the boxers, and several of them, like Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe, became heavyweight champs, and those guys were in the village right next to us, and I remember just hanging out with them like young kids. So being around the other athletes it's more than just being your sport. it's a like a 2-3 week sports fest that nothing else is like it, and the fans, and so hopefully we'll have that, and the world will have that. I think we need sport. Obviously, we need that sport too. So I'm hopeful that it happens, and that by next summer it'll be a normal Olympics.
Well, and speaking to the virus and how that kind of affected the Olympics, it has severely affected all sports, especially the MLB, which obviously was supposed to start months ago. And all the deliberations, it did shed a great light on the MLB. But where are you at now with what they've kind of agreed upon, how they're going to go about the season? Do you think they're doing it in a safe and correct way for the circumstances?
I believe that they are doing everything they possibly can to, and that's it seems like that is their number one priority. Obviously, the safety and welfare of the players. They're obviously starting in, with no fans at the game, which will be very interesting because nobody has played in front of no fan before, and so that will be interesting to watch. And hopefully maybe by a month in that fans can go to the games. I don't know if that's been officially ruled out or not, but I think they're doing everything they can. MLB, the teams themselves are doing what they can. I think it'll be very exciting. I really do. I think sometimes the baseball season is such a long summer, and it's a marathon. It's going to be kind of an exciting sprint. And every game's going to matter, whether you're, a contending team on the beginning of it all and you think you have your chance to win it. You better come out winning, because you don't have 162 games to make up, a bad early stretch. So I think the teams that have the best bullpens will be at the advantage to really to win and get in. I do believe the scheduling is interesting, because some of the teams are playing against, you're playing in your region. If, you're an AL West team, you're playing against the Dodgers 6 or 7 times. So, there's a lot of good, if who you're playing is a factor. I think but I do believe it's going to be very enjoyable and exciting. I know that everyone's starved for live sports. Let's knock on wood, hope next week that it all happens and that we get there. We still aren't there yet, but I think with the basketball playing and coming and the hockey, it seems like the world definitely needs. We don't realize how much we love and need sport for our own sanity, and
Right.
I really believe that let's. Like I said, let's knock on wood and hope that we do it and that it happens. And I think that once it goes, I think it'll be, there's going to be some hiccups and whatnot, but I think they're going to do everything they can to maintain their safety and go from there. But, again, you are a baseball player, that's part of your job, prior to the COVID, there was always the flu. You're traveling. There's always sickness, that potential that you may get. So that's the risk that you always had, and it's a little more now. But let's just hope that it goes without a hitch, and that we all as fans have what we need and love: sports.
Absolutely.
All right, and we are gearing up for opening day. So I think the 23rd is when they are going to start some baseball. What would you be most looking forward to? You're going to be at the game, just hypothetically, you're at the game of your choice. What are you most looking forward to about the atmosphere that baseball brings?
Well, I'm looking forward to the 60 game schedule, and I think that exciting part of how quick and condensed it is, and how important every game is to each team. I think it's going to make the game itself very exciting. So I'm excited that that they're doing it in a different way, and that they could have gone probably did 100 games, but I think the 60 games makes it really intriguing to me as a fan of baseball, and I think the games are going to be really, really exciting, and the teams that have desire to win, and think they're contenders, they're going to be playing hard from day one. There's no time to have a 7-game losing streak early on. That's going to really put you behind the 8 ball. So I'm excited about the sprint factor of it. And I'm excited also about the NBA playoffs. I'm a big NBA basketball fan, so I look forward to the playoffs and seeing how that is in the bubble. That's going to be interesting. And then obviously, we got our Blues who they're a really good team. They were had the best record in the West going in, and I'm hoping that they can have a nice run too in the hockey playoffs, and that would be great. So we could have a great end of the summer in sports. That's what I'm kind of I look forward to all of it.
And we need it. We need it badly right now. We need some live sports, something to cheer for and get behind. So I completely agree with you.
Absolutely. Everyone needs it. And and the good thing is that they're all kind of coming together. So it'll be from nothing to a lot. And so, and it'll be exciting. The month of August, September, September, October is always very exciting, with the baseball ending but I do believe the shortness of it is going to make the whole 60 days of the baseball season very exciting. I really do. And I look forward to watching it and following it, and because it drags on. A baseball season gets long. When you playing for 6 months and 8 months, including spring training, and then if you get in the playoffs, it's a 10-month, 9-month endeavor. This is a quick, hard sprint. I worry about injury for the players because they've been sitting out for a good while, and they're going to try to rush to get back to it quickly. And it remains to be seen how the injury factor will play out. I do think that sitting around for 3 months is not the norm in a baseball player's life. And we'll see if that comes to be, if there's any major injuries that because of that. But I do think that they're doing everything they can about the COVID-19, and hopefully that won't be an issue. And the players, I believe, will be on their best behavior, not because I don't believe they're going to be going out to doing their normal, going to the bars or whatnot at nights. I think that they're I think they need to really make to really be on a strict schedule of going home and making sure they're not surrounded by a bunch of strange people. And I think that will be that will be interesting, because that's part of the game too. And there's a lot of young players that play in the big league. That's part of their lifestyle. But it'll be interesting. I'm excited. I hope we get there. I know it's 8 days away or so, but we're inside a couple weeks now, and we've had horse racing, which I'm a horse racing fan, so I do have some sport to watch.
There you go.
I was going to just ask you about that. Awesome, you brought it up. Perfect.
Well, your dad, obviously, and your grandmother and your grandfather used to have horses, and we used to go watch them back at Fairmount Park when we were little kids. And so I sort of blame your dad for any bad habit that, no, I'm kidding. But I enjoy the horses. I really do. And they've been running, and it's interesting. There's no fans, but it's something to watch at least. And
right. And when you say there'd be a positive impact, more people have been watching it lately because that's what has been entertaining. That's what's been on too.
Exactly. And so it is, with what they did with the Kentucky Derby, moving that back to September. September is going to be a really exciting month, maybe, if we can get to it. And we can have a lot of baseball. We got football. The basketball class will be in full swing. So there could be some exciting moments in the months ahead. And that's one of them. The Kentucky Derby is just special to me. It really is. And they ran the Belmont Stakes a couple weeks back. I don't know which is interesting because they ran it first, which is usually the third in the Triple Crown series. So, but I do follow it. I definitely have been following it more because there's not anything else to really watch. But it's something that as a young kid was with your dad and your grandparents, they would take us to watch their horses run, and it was cool. It was exciting. I think might be in a few of the photos and in your grandparents' basement as a young teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I am right now. So definitely I will have to check it out.
Yeah, take a look.
I can see the excitement on your face, Dave. You are pumped for this MLB season, and I'm excited for you. I think it's going to be great. I interned in the Cape last summer. That's a 42 game season or something like that. And it's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like a sprint to the finish. So I'm excited. I'm excited that you're excited. And I'm excited that sports are coming back. And thanks so much for joining us, Dave. Really great stories. Good to meet you. And stay safe, man. Enjoy some sports.
Awesome. My pleasure. Great to be on.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was former gold medalist Dave Silvestri, another one of Tamar's fine guests that she's been able to bring on. Tamar, you continue to deliver. So thank you for bringing those guests on. Really awesome conversation with both of the Jordans and Dave as well. But I do want to mention, we didn't get to it in the beginning, but a bit of news, at least for Indiana, that Victor Oladipo is reconsidering coming back to the Pacers. To kind of explain that, I kind of read up on it yesterday. The NBA is saying that if you are healthy and you decide not to go to the bubble in Orlando, you will not get paid, is what they're saying. But if you are injured or sick and don't go to the bubble, you will still get your salary. So Oladipo coming out and saying he was healthy, but he's not going to continue to rehab, has put the league in an interesting spot because the NBA PA believes that he should still be paid. The league believes that he should not be paid. The Pacers are planning to pay him no matter what, but he's running full practices with the team. And the coaching staff, Nick McMillan, has said they're planning as if he's going to play. They've put him in practice. He's been great. So it'll be really interesting to see how the whole salary debate plays out with Oladipo and just the fact that maybe he's going to play. So I did want to mention that. We didn't get to it at the top of the show, but that's a bit of news here in the state of Indiana, or at least back in the state of Indiana. I can't say here right now. But Tamar, thanks for coming on. I want to remind everybody that Tamar and Connor and Griffin did some great episodes last week. You can go and check those out on Spreaker Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and on our IU Sports Media YouTube page. They had the great Bart Fox on Friday, which was just a fantastic conversation. It gave me something to listen to on my road trip out here. So definitely go and check those out on the IU Sports Media YouTube page and anywhere that you get podcasts. I believe we're up to 25 episodes now. So I think that makes us a sanctioned podcast. We're a fourth of the way to the century mark. But Tamar, thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing on some great guests. Let's talk soon. Stay safe back there in St. Louis.
Thanks, Austin. And thank you for constantly delivering and for setting this all up, being the brains behind the operation. As I said, you're so wonderful, and enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thanks, Tamar. For Tim and Allison Jordan and Dave Silvestri and Tamar Scheer, that's our biggest crop of guests yet on one episode. For those four, I'm Austin Render saying so long from today's episode of Unpaid Interns.